Bigger than capes.
Give me some sadness.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Oh, right.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. It's our January roundup for 2022, and I am joined by Angela, Will, and Matt, collectively Bigger Than Capes. How y'all doing? What's happening tonight?
Howdy.
Evening.
Evening. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, sure. I mean, whatever.
Living the dream, as always.
Yeah, it's just, it's what it is, isn't it?
It is what it is. Well, it's Friday night. I'm glad for that. Weekend beckons.
Some of us work on a Saturday, but that's fine.
For some of us, weekend beckons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of
God.
you.
My weekend is literally just going to be overtime.
Oh, boo.
For some of us, weekend
The number of people for whom it's a weekend is rapidly decreasing.
Look, I need to buy a new suit of chainmail. I have needs.
Matt, of course, comfortably living 1,000 years in the past.
Are people getting a bit stabby in your area?
I mean, probably.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair. You go and buy that chainmail.
It's like 400 quid, but I need it.
Just like knit some like Monty Python.
I have a suit of chainmail. It's not knitted.
Oh,
I do, but it's not very good, and I've had it for about 12 years.
Why change now?
Because it's been falling apart for about 10 of those years.
Is it not your
Okay.
family chainmail going to be passed down to your children and their children?
Oh God! By the time it got to any theoretical children, it would just be a single chain loop.
Just
Well, they could
like
make
a chain
necklace.
bikini.
Yeah, necklace, bracelet.
Yeah, repurpose those chain links. What do you do to get rid of them? Do you is it a charity shop job or?
Melt it down.
Get it scrapped. I know some people who can probably repair it, and they'll give it to someone for free.
It's what food banks need. They're after second chainmail.
I'm gonna not continue this, although it's hard because I've got more material. I'm just
Got material.
So this is the roundup. We're going to be rounding up January. We've got 4 books, 2 Image, 1 Aftershock, and 1 Vault. Before we get into that, has anyone got any, nuggets of news nuggets they want to?
In news that matters to no one but me, I'm a step closer to owning like all of Evan Dawkins' comics. Thanks to Zach.
Congratulations.
Lovely.
He's helping me with my problem.
Helping or facilitating?
Yeah.
A friend.
For a therapist to decide.
He's my enabler.
A friend in need's a friend indeed. A friend with Evan Dawkins better.
As Placebo famously sang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not my favourite story of the week, but certainly my favourite reaction of the week is: have you seen about this school in Tennessee that has decided to ban mouse?
I have.
No, I
yes.
hadn't.
Allegedly because it has some bad language, including goddamn and bitch, and also has nudity. May I remind you that all the characters are animals.
Also, like,
Traditionally tend to be, nude.
yeah, Art Spiegelman's art is great, but isn't something that you'd look at for titillation.
Nope.
No.
But it's the reaction which has been most positive. It's gone back into the sort of top 10 of the sales charts, And there's a comic store, I think, in California, who is just offering to give them away to people in Tennessee.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
So
bless.
there's been a nice internet reaction to that, and comics don't always do positive,
Rarely.
so it's nice to see it when it happens.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's heartwarming.
Hooray for books.
I had an Image thing that I thought that me and Angela and probably Will be psyched about. That we've got a new espionage series starting in a couple of months called
yes.
Old Dog from Declan Shalvey, who is writing Time Before Time, which we're into,
Yeah.
and other people.
Included on the creative team.
I love other people.
Clayton Cowles.
They're great.
Clayton
Yeah,
Oh,
Cowles.
Clayton Cowles! Yay!
I was going to say
Excellent.
other people could be anyone, so it's infinite possibilities.
Very much
Just
so.
picture your dream team.
But yeah, it's going to be ongoing, action-packed spy thriller, and I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm on board for that. That sounds cool.
There are other Image announcements from the last week. I'm just focusing on the ones that are
The important ones.
Declan Shalvey related, because we talked about Time Before Time a week ago. Don't know if
Yeah.
Will's frozen or if he's just very still.
I'm
He's
moving.
moving. He's moving. Okay.
There we go.
That was a great transition. Will's still with us. What was I talking about? Yes, comic book announcements. There have been many. That's the one that stuck with me.
I've got another quick one that we sort of talked about off air, was that The Inkle is becoming a TV show.
Yes.
And because of that, Humanoids are now publishing brand new Inkle books by Mark Russell, Dan Watters, and Brandon Thomas, who are all people
Weird.
whose books I've enjoyed very much, with Yannick Paquette, John Davis Hunt, and Pete Woods on art, I guess. Again, that also sounds like a pretty cool announcement.
I this could be cool. I like the Incal, and the Incal's been really well adapted into a film before. It was called The Fifth Element. It rules. But no,
Lilu Multipass.
I like the Incal a lot. I like the Meta Barons, and a bunch of the sort of books that are around it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be weird trying to see them capture Mobius in live action. I like Mobius is one of my favorite artists. I think he creates some of the most gorgeous worlds,
Super surreal,
just
really imaginative.
I love his design sense in terms of clothing in particular. That I can't wait to see some I'm not super it's one of these things where it's I don't care about casting or anything like that. Show me the wardrobe.
Show me the wardrobe.
Give me the clothes.
Yeah.
You can't handle the wardrobe.
Or maybe the Meta Baron. I maybe want to know who they have play the Meta Baron.
And what clothes he'll be wearing.
And what clothes he'll be wearing.
Richard O'Brien. My choice.
Yes. We're just going to think of bald men.
Greg Wallace. The Meta Baron.
Now that is a choice.
He's all about that buttery biscuit base, John.
Oh, that's an old reference.
Oh dear.
A good one.
Yeah.
An old one. Right, shall we talk?
Sometimes I worry about us as a.
I don't worry. Don't
Just
worry. Be happy.
sometimes.
Largely, I worry about. So I guess I'm kicking us off with this month's roundup. So strap in.
Okay.
Get comfortable. Don't really know why.
Don't worry about the whole seat. You'll only need the edge.
So first up from Image Comics is Joe Hill's Reign, number 1. It is story by Joe Hill, adapted by David M. Boer, art by Zoe Thorogood, colours by Chris O'Halloran, and lettered by Sean Lee. Basically, this originally comes from Joe Hill's 4-in-1 novella collection, Strange Weather, which I think is from 2017. And is basically the story of Honeysuckle Speck, and as she is preparing for her girlfriend Yolanda Rust to move in with her. And then suddenly there is a rain of kind of glass, crystal, needles, nail things, and nightmares ensue. And basically that's issue 1. Anything I've missed from that, or is that?
I think that's a pretty good
summation.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Okay, so this is weird because I was positive about this because it's Zoe Thorogood and I really like her art, but then I was skeptical because it's Joe Hill's name on the cover, but Joe Hill isn't really writing this comic.
No.
Which kind of throws I always feel weird about it when it's like, hey, this well-known person, but then but not really writing it, especially in a situation like this where Joe Hill is known as a comic book writer with Lock and Key. He's also recently had the Hill House imprint over at DC, Black Label, and quite a lot of short run books at IDW over the years. So he's known as a horror comics. Well, he's known as a horror writer and as a horror comics writer. So there's a strangeness to this that it's, unless he's still exclusive to DC for comics or something, and that's why it's Joe Hill in name but not Joe Hill in execution. I don't know.
It's like a workaround.
Yeah, it feels like that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know the legalities of this.
It's an odd situation, though. You're right.
Yes. As always, Joe, if you're out there and if you're listening, hit us up. We're curious.
Hi, Joe.
It does very much feel like on a film, it'd say produced by.
Yes.
Or it'd be like the Steven Spielberg credit on a Joe Dante film or something.
It's don't get me wrong. I this is Joe Hill's story. I have no doubt in that. It's just not particularly written by him right now, which we often see with kind of adaptations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not even the first Joe Hill book. Recently, did we have Sleeping Beauties, which is Stephen King and Joe Hill?
Yes.
It was adapted last year, but neither of them wrote the adaptation. So, yeah, there's been a few kicking around. I think my main things for this is that I think Zoe Thorogood's art is just great. I think there's some really good landscape stuff and establishing nice, chill, happy moments, and then bam, horror. And I think it works because it's got such a nice setup that when it does get all horror, it's feels like a legitimate swerve, the world's been built and now it's not nice no more. Also kept up by the fact that I think it's nice that we're introduced to the people who live on the street, Jackdaw Street, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's nice to actually be introduced to all the characters there, and it's a weird street, we've got a cult there predicting the end of the world. But there's a niceness to it being hey, here are the people actually on this street. Excuse me while I kill them off.
Yeah.
But at
Here's
least
some people you can get attached to. Whoops.
Yeah, it at least gives it some realism before murdering them.
Yes.
Is it murder if it's a natural occurrence? Is it a natural occurrence?
I think it'd be classed as act of God.
Wow, suddenly
God.
Matt works for an insurance company, doesn't he?
Or like maybe Death by Misadventure.
Ooh.
Oh no!
Ooh, hello album
I
name.
was outside. What a misadventure that was.
Is that a real thing? Is that a term people say?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have death. Yeah, I've heard that before too.
Anyone else got some things they would like to add?
I echo a lot of what you said there, buddy. I think the art is really great.
Yeah.
I think faces, especially, like all the characters. I think when it's a kind of, at least in this opening issue, quite a people piece. It's about obviously Honeysuckle and his sailor, all the people on the street. It improves it massively when the faces are really great. You can read the expressions, and it makes them immediately likable as well. Like everybody looks very sweet and appealing.
Yeah.
Like the
Or like the freckles and
is it Templeton? Templeton Blake, the vampire.
Yes.
Just looks like a cute kid, doesn't he? Looks like a
it
looks like it's a fun time. And I think it's really great that in just the first issue, how quickly it made me care about this cast of characters.
Yeah.
I also like that, as you mentioned, it sets up this really calm, like quite idyllic little suburbia. And then when the action, when the horror does begin, like the art doesn't hold back from it at all.
No.
The cultists with their eyes being popped out, and we never really worry that much about spoilers, do we? I mean, it tells you at the very beginning of the book sort of what comes at the end. But I was going to say the way that Yolanda dies is like truly horrifying. You can imagine her just sort of shambling steps and just crumples to the floor. And I think it's hugely effective. It goes from incredibly like pretty to incredibly awful, and I like it.
Can I just add about Chris O'Halloran's colouring also?
You can.
Because I like his colouring. I'm a fan of his colouring work. But no, and yeah, I like sort of the contrast between, when everything's sort of the creeping clouds and the way the colours sort of go. They change to sort of that grey green as all the glass needle things fall from the sky.
Yeah,
and it's just go on. You'll probably say it better than me, Zach.
Just that it does feel like kind of the darkness of rain falls over everything.
That's it. Yeah. There you go. But it is nice, because even in a short period of time, you do care about the characters, and then what happens really has an emotional punch to it, which is not easy to do, considering it's literally just pages between one thing and another.
I think that speaks quite a lot to David M. Booher. The script is really good. I think the characters, I can hear them in my head, and I think they read believably.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Also, the names are cool.
Yeah,
Honeysuckle Smith and Yolanda Rusted.
Like one
Templeton
of my
Blake.
favorite little things with it outside of the art. Like it's I really liked this. Name's very good. Name's very good.
Names is good. I did
That's
feel
how you know it's European.
Oh God.
Names is good.
This is why I never talk to Matt. I do feel like this kind of, obviously it's a Joe Hill novella, but I feel like it's got that kind of horror short stories collection vibe to it immediately, and kind of in style of the something horrible and shocking happening out of nowhere did kind of remind me of like Junji Ito.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do we know how long this runs for? They announced this in advance.
It can't be any more than like a few issues.
I would say it being 4 to 6, right? Like at the most.
Part of me thinks it's 6, but I don't know if I've just made that up.
And it's only 14 pages, this first issue, so that'd be like...
It's 28, Matt. It's 2 pages in one.
Oh, fuck. Ignore me then.
Yeah.
Ignore me. I was going to say that'll be like, what, 3 issues in real length? Jesus Christ. I'm
Not
so
your
sorry.
day
All
today,
these...
buddy.
It does feel like it works. It says 5 on Comixology for reference.
Why does the Comixology tell me that?
Because you speak nicely to it. But
Don't
it is worth saying.
disrespect it.
It does feel short, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like as long as it is, but there's a lot in it. You don't feel shortchanged.
No, not at all. I think it sets up what it needs to, and I think the basic mystery of what happened is interesting, like why it's happened. I don't know if that's the course it takes or whether we see it again from other points of view. I assume Honeysuckle is our leading
POV.
character going forward, and I guess it will rest on how interesting that mystery is of how good it continues to be. But more and more, I realise that art is probably the biggest draw for me.
Yeah.
If I really like the art, that's kind of it.
And
That's
it's
fair.
really good art.
It is. I think it's lovely.
I just want to point out the giraffes because it's so random. It's
so
like
sad.
It's very sad. I mean, you get them in the zoo, but it's like of all the animals in the zoo, the giraffe.
They're gonna get hit first.
I mean, that is true. That is true.
God,
The
yeah,
armadillos are like today's
I
my
like
day.
that choice. I like the choice of giraffe, even though it's really sad and bad things happen.
I sort of like the irony of a porcupine getting hit.
Yeah.
Teach that porcupine.
The only animals that were left were the porcupines and the hedgehogs.
Maybe it's their fault. We don't know yet.
Have we anything more to say then, or other than really good comic, good art, good writing, good colouring, good lettering? Just going to throw that out there also.
Yeah, all round good stuff. No, I really like that one, but I've got nothing more to add.
I think I'm set as well.
Right. Shall I move us on then?
Go for it.
Can certainly try.
So our second book is by Aftershock, and it is Bylines in Blood, and the title is relevant to the plot. It is written by Erica Schultz.
In a rare occurrence.
The writers are Erica Schultz and Van Jensen. The artist is Aneke, and the letterer is the mysterious Cardinal Ray. So basically, Bylines in Blood is set kind of in the near future, and you have a character called Satya Chatterjee, who was a reporter at a paper called The Herald. However, for reasons that become apparent, The Herald finished as a newspaper, and she has ended up being kind of like the worst sort of private eye. If you pay her money, she will do your dirty work, whether that's trying to find your daughter, who you may or may not be amusing in a nightclub, and dragging her back to you, among other things. So she's also a hard drinking PI, because is there any other sort? She is helped in this by Tom, her assistant, who is the best. He just is. Anyway, so she is hired by Estina, who is the daughter of Denzin. Denzin was the editor at the Herald, and Satch kind of looked up to him, and he was a bit of a mentor. And he has been mysteriously murdered, and Estina wants Satch to look into it. And she sort of feels like she has to, because, you know, Estina gives her a wodge of cash. And also, Denzin was a mentor, and the detectives who are working on it, Lampwick and Marquez, are not people that Satch thinks are any good. So she's using her street smarts. We also see her family. So there's Erman and her parents, who are a family, and she doesn't get on with them. And you can see this tension in her personal life. But yeah, there's all kinds of sort of modern references. There's a lot of masks involved, and also drones that record your every move. That's not creepy, but people do that for a choice, apparently. So yeah, I enjoyed it because I'm a sucker for, you know, private eyes with drinking problems and mental issues and all of that jazz.
Agreed.
And I do like a good mystery, and it is a mystery like who killed Denzel and why. And Tom is the best. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I like the art. I especially like sort of the action scenes where she gets kind of ambushed in Denzel's apartment and sort of is fighting her way out. And I like the colouring. The colouring's quite nice because it sort of shows you the different settings all have like their own little colour scheme, which I like. So yes, also nice lettering. Thoughts, anyone else?
Yes. I largely agree. I think Aneke's art is great. I especially liked kind of character design and like attention to clothing, like the coat.
The clothing was my favourite part of this.
Yeah, the light yellow and blue trench coat with the giant collar was. Yeah, I'm into that. Apparently that's what I'm into. Also, the t-shirts that just say like vigilance and.
Yeah.
Also, a big fan of the. Is it Massimo Spark instead of Maximo Park?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God,
it's simple and it's odd, but I'm there for that.
There it is.
There's some very, very classic, like, film noir PI story influence. It feels very similar to, like, Jessica Jones, and I guess that Jessica Jones comic everyone was meant to have read by Bendis. What was that called? Alias.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Definitely got that kind of DNA to it, but with better fashion and...
Yeah, it's better written. Sorry, Bendis.
But yeah, no, I really liked this as a first issue. I think it kind of is a good intro to the characters and a nice, simple introduction to a kind of not so distant future kind of PI story.
Yeah.
Indeed. I think the world building in this book is pretty good. I think it feeds in as it goes through. I never felt like I was missing like vital information for what I needed. It doesn't tell you everything all at once. It tells you there's a pandemic, and later refers to it as a plague, but doesn't really talk about what that is. It appears to be a like an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Like they talk about the city was set up in the 1700s. So it's got an entirely different like history as well. I completely agree about her coat. It looks like proper pulpy sci-fi with that huge like triangle flash of color. It just looks rad.
Yeah.
It's kind of a retro, like almost a retro futurist.
Yeah.
Look to some of the fashion. Like
what they thought we'd look
very
like from
much
the 80s.
Yeah.
But like even prior to that, it's like it's exaggerated 80s wear, but it's like, but there's like the police uniforms when they show up at the site. Like, if you look at their uniforms, there's kind of something about them, and like the kind of the fact that it's not like double-breasted.
No, but on the way to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some interesting like looks to it all that like remind that like without explicitly being something like remind you of like a different imagining of like of future looks from somewhere else. God, my brain is so dead.
I agree with you, Angela, about the colouring and the scene setting that it does. I think is really good. When I first sort of skimmed through these books, actually, this was the one that I thought I'm not immediately sure about the art.
Yeah.
Because at a skim, it all looks quite flat. Because there are a lot of times when they just use it's just all blue, for instance, different shadings. But actually, when you're reading it and when you kind of go through it, I think the colours used really effectively. The page where they kind of show Denzin dead against a wall.
Oh yeah.
and each one kind of pans out a bit further, and every time it's a different color, and it seems to be being set by this like neon light next to it, and I just think that has a really cool vibe to it. So yeah, it was my first impression wasn't great, but actually as I like properly read it, I thought the art and coloring actually were really good.
I do really like how each of the like you were saying, like each of the main characters seems to have like one signature highlight color. Like that's really cool. Like Satya has yellow, like the eye people have red, police obviously have blue, like Denton has green. It's cool and kind of really helps to kind of distinguish between like whoever's talking at any time. Like you can recognize someone quite easily in a crowd because you look for their color.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, I think it's quite subtle though, isn't it? It's not immediately obvious, but it does draw your attention.
I found it interesting because it's written by Erica Schultz and Van Jensen, and I'm familiar with both of them, and I can definitely pick out the Van Jensen bits. And I'm definitely the bit. I'm sure that the bit with the truthers, the anarchists. I'm like, this is very Van. This feels very Van Jensen with the eyeballs and all of that.
Yeah,
but it doesn't feel necessarily like there's two writers involved. It's quite a solid plot. It's just because I'm like, yeah, that's Van Jensen in a good way.
But I also agree with you about the like hard-boiled PI. It's got a real like old school noir feel to it. And just dig those tropes. Always happy to read that sort of stuff.
Love a hard-boiled PI.
Yeah, man.
Zach?
I already did my bit, didn't I? I said words.
Did you?
Said your piece.
I've said my.
It's because we're agreeing so much. It's because we're agreeing so much. I'm not used to this. It's weird.
I think that's it. We're not.
It's got a novelty to it though when we agree.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm into this. I look forward to our big right collar phase.
I think we should make that happen.
God, that would be great.
Wouldn't it just?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it just? So I was just getting to the start of We Ride Titans for reference. Should I do my bit?
You
on.
should.
Yeah.
All right. So the next book is We Ride Titans from Vault Comics, written by Tres Dean, arted by Sebastian Perez, colored.
These are words.
Own it. Just go with it.
Colored by Dean Cuniff, letters by Jim Campbell, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say. No, this is a comic set in a world where robots and monsters seem to fight quite normally, quite routinely, and our main character Kit is brought in to replace her alcoholic brother to pilot the family robot that apparently their family always pilot, passed down
the generations like chainmail.
Yeah. And I guess I get the impression where this book is going to be more, monsters and fighting. But it takes, I don't want to call it a slow start because I enjoy the read, but it sets the scene in such a way that I don't really quite know what type of book this is going to be.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The front cover and the name and everything looks like just all out action. And actually in the first, 8 pages or so, it kind of is. And then becomes
more of a family kind of affair.
Yeah, like a family drama thing. I've got to say, I really like the relationship between Kit and her unnamed.
That annoyed me that her girlfriend isn't named.
Partner / wife. I don't even know what the relationship is.
The girlfriend's called Jen.
Is she called Jen?
Yeah.
Jen, what's wrong?
We're all batting 100 tonight.
On the flip side, the mother is not named, though, so the complaint
Okay.
still stands.
Thank you.
I did also, yeah, I had both mum and girlfriend written down as my cast of characters.
And I was going off Will's list.
You're right, yeah.
So,
Like,
You can't be trusting Will.
yeah,
Well, I've learned my lesson now. The one
That's-
time I've done it.
that's your mistake. I'm free of blaming that.
Right.
But I really like their relationship, though. I found it like pretty believable. They have a bit of a spat and fallout, but they talk to each other in a way which I find like both realistic and endearing.
Mm.
It's not really like saccharine romance, but equally like they get each other and they know each other.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it like how they talk to each other, I think works really well.
Yeah.
I like the way that she like tries to cook a I'm sorry dinner and clearly can't. And then and she's like, you know, for reference, flowers are okay. You don't need to do this. And it's just, you know, it's a nice little light-hearted, I forgive you kind of a moment.
Yeah.
Indeed. I familiarize myself with her response of just complete flat sarcasm of just, oh good, dinner's ready. It just like pisses all over the kitchen. I think, yeah, that'd be my response too. But nevertheless, like I don't know what the book's going to be. Like I think if it manages to balance those two bits well, continuously, I think this could be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm quite positive about this. One of my only concerns is it's very similar to Jenny Zero that we read last year.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that was about to be that was my my main thing.
That
Mech
is not just
slash
me.
kaiju stuff is prolific at the moment.
Yes, there's been a lot of it since kind of the tail end of 2020. I think we've picked up the amount of kaijus and mechs and tokusatsu influence.
It's been a couple years, and I'm fine with that as like a person with like a pretty deep love for like tokusatsu kaiju stuff. But yeah, it's one of these things where sometimes it will start in a similar place. Like,
Yeah, there's kind of agreed upon origin points for this kind of story.
yeah, and I'm interested to see where it goes. Like, where it goes from it. It's going to be a very different book, clearly, than Jenny Zero.
Yeah.
But it's just the starting point is similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you, Matt. Like, I'm kind of a fan of this stuff anyway. So at the moment, I'm happy with it, like being everywhere. You just pick out the bits that I like, and happy days. But
Yeah,
everything can be oversaturated.
I don't think
eventually.
I don't think it'll be like the zombie books of the mid 2000s. I don't think it'll ever be that. But like, and to be fair, like I think we're only probably getting a couple a year, like and that I can maintain. Like,
Yeah. It's not a massive complaint from me, really. It's just one of those observations, I guess. Like, it kind of feels like we've read this story before. I think comparing it directly to Jenny Zero, like, I think Kit is immediately a more endearing character. I actually haven't read any more Jenny Zero at this point, but I remember Jenny being like a bit of a brat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She had issues.
Still with, daddy issues, and the kind of the family dynamic is in there. But I don't know, I sort of like Kit and
yes,
and Jenny,
I think
the person whose
this,
name I knew.
like I say, this book like I say, will clearly be very different. It's just the same sort of rough, sort of similar starting point in that it's a it's just simply because it's a kaiju fighting book with like a character with a legacy element involved. So like, and that's no criticism. Like I say, it's a pretty solid, it's pretty solid foundation to build from.
Mhm.
And with regards to this, like I say, I agree 100%. Like, I found Kit really, really endearing. And like her relationship, again, just like really fun and just like lived in. Like you say, like it's just the sort of thing where you look at two people and go, oh yeah, they know, they've like been together long enough to just like that the dynamic that we see in the book feels real.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm kind of interested to see more of the world and figure out like what's kind of like I'm kind of interested in like the history of it. Like, it seems to be almost like dynastic like robot fighters.
Yeah. Although it suggests that a lot of the others have
been taken in by like by government,
centralized. Yeah,
which I agree with, but
robots for socialism.
no, I'm just no, like I mean, look, in socialism, the robots would be controlled by the proletariat, but
or maybe they would be the proletariat. Who's to say?
Or maybe they would. But yeah, like it's a nice start, and it's a very good. I think it's a very good choice to spend so much of the issue seeing Kit in her comfort zone, in her relationship, so that we actually get to like her before we see her have to deal with her family and stuff, so that we can know, like, no, this person is nice, seemingly, like they seem like a decent person, so if they're being an asshole, there's probably a good reason, rather than just throwing us into seeing them be an asshole and then have to build up trust that they are a decent person afterwards.
For sure.
Yes. Sorry, I don't get excited by kaiju the way that Matt does, and
I don't
mechs.
much anymore, but like, show me like Anguirus, who's like one of my favorites, and I'll always be pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, it feels like all of that stuff with fighting robots and all the rest of it is kind of almost incidental.
Yes.
It's like a framing device, and the actual drive of it is Kit's relationship with her family and her girlfriend/wife.
100%.
And
I think wife.
We'll go with wife. She does mention mother-in-law, doesn't she? She does say that's my mother-in-law.
I think she's being sarcastic and saying that. And
either way, Kit's current life partner. Let's go with that one.
Yeah.
Let's be gender neutral. So yeah, but it feels like that it's kind of like the brother could have been involved in anything, and the family would have called upon her. I don't know. He could have been a racing driver, and she's the next best one to drive the family car because the parents are too old or whatever. It's that kind of thing. It just feels like that's all incidental, which is weird, because that seems, we ride with Titans as like big setup and giant robots and all the rest of it, but in a way it's completely incidental. And I like the relationship side and the family side of it. I'm not sold on the way we have a framing device, but we'll see. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'd say that's very fair critique. Like, it definitely is like not like it definitely isn't like the focus of the book. Like we see the robots for maybe a page and a half, 2 pages. Like it's and even then there's not like a huge amount of attention sort of paid to like fighting. It's more about the person inside, like her brother and like his issues, rather than like, look, cool, awesome robot fight. Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely. I think this has the potential to do both. I think we've seen in comics recently that it can be, giant robot fights and grounded, personal kind of stories. So I'd like to think that can be true here. I also think that's in Sebastian Perez's art. We kind of see that they're capable of doing both. We get the big battle scenes and the robots punching kaijus, and then we also get kind of quite simple but like good at conveying emotions, kind of conversational scenes, and then kind of the Kit's drive towards the city has got quite a good cinematic feel, and then kind of the architecture of the buildings and stuff. I think it shows a good variety of kind of everything, and I would like to hope we can get that in the storytelling as well as this.
Yeah, I think if it kind of keeps up that balance, I'd be on board with it. There are little details about it. Like, I think one thing I wanted to say I think the coloring's really cool again. Like, there's a couple of scenes during the big fight where it's her brother Dej looking through the window of the robot up at this kaiju, and it's all sort of orange and glowy. And then a couple of pages later, when he like shoots his lasers through it, I always love when the color like gets that sense of light and heat and stuff. It looks cool. But yeah, overall, like, I think if they can just stick this balance, I'd be pretty cool with this. I think it's even in the more mundane bits, but it shows her going to her job as a mechanic of some in a world where it seems that's quite like archaic, rare, I suppose. But again, even that's like interesting to look at. It's colourful and there are different characters in it, and it's a bit of a montage of a day. But yeah, I just think the art's cool in this one as well.
So, anyone else?
Yeah, I've got a book. To talk about. So I'm talking about Arrowsmith, Behind Enemy Lines, written by Kurt Busiek, art by Carlos Pacheco, inked by Jose Rafael Fonteras, and colors by Jose Villarrubia, with lettering by Tyler Smith and Jimmy Betancourt. So Arrowsmith was a book from like 2002, 2004 maybe, by Busiek, that this is like a continuation of like it's an alternate like World War I story in a world where like magic develops kind of alongside alongside technology and stuff. Like, there's less sort of guns than there are like magic powered like crossbows, and like people flying with dragons instead of planes, but like not flying on dragons, like borrowing the flight of dragons. It's a like it's I have a certain fondness for the original book. Like it's an alternate like technology, like it's an alternate like history book without like the set around like World War One. That's just like, it's not like steampunky or anything, and that always makes me happy just to get something other than fucking steampunk. Like it's like the new series like follows like the main character like Fletcher Arrowsmith, as he has come back on leave from the front and is issued a secret mission to go behind, like to be like to fake being downed and be captured and sent to a prisoner of war camp and make contact with a friendly behind enemy lines, as the title goes. Like it's a fun first issue and brings back like one of my favorite characters, the troll Rocky, who is great. He's just big and talks in what's almost a kind of a Russian accent, calling him Fletcher, and takes cannonballs to the arms and gets healed by doctors putting concrete in him. He's great. The book looks nice. It's that Carlos Pacheco art. Like it's an all-round like solid book, not top tier Busiek, but like has a number of the kind of charms you expect when you're reading Busiek. Like a lot of the characters have life to them. And can someone please interrupt me, because I'm losing my mind today.
Nope, leave him to it.
Just
let it happen.
Let it go.
I really like Kurt Busiek from Astro City specifically. So it sort of upsets me a little bit that this didn't hit the mark for me.
I totally get that.
It's not because I think it is intrinsically bad. I agree with you about the art. I think it looks really nice. And I think some of the kind of design choices of like Rocky the Troll is a pretty cool design with his little foliage, hair and beard. And I think the art itself is nice. The coloring's nice. Like there's an image of old sort of Victorian London at one point, which is a nice sort of sprawl.
Mm.
But I think it suffers from being a continuation of something I haven't read and therefore don't have any kind of grounding for. And while I think it does a decent enough job to introduce you to the world as a new reader, I just think it lacks that kind of, I guess, emotional core that you'd pick up maybe from being a long-term reader. I don't understand the kind of like the magic system in this. Like what's it capable of doing and not doing, and why does technology exist alongside it if it is capable of doing X, Y, Z? And maybe that gets explained later, but I just didn't quite care about the characters enough. I think they reference lots of other characters, including like his father and people clearly from the old series, but to me they're just names in a word bubble. And so unfortunately just didn't excite. And while I really like Busiek, there are too many narration caption boxes.
Yes.
It is too heavily narrated for my liking. Sorry, Kurt.
Yeah. I'm the same as well. I haven't read Arrowsmith. I I like Rocky the Troll and Hilda the Dragon. That's cool. But yeah, I just didn't get that invested because these characters mean nothing to me. I'm getting to know them for the first time, and I don't think it doesn't feel that, because sometimes a continuation can feel quite newbie friendly. This feels like I need to know more about the world for it to make sense, and I don't. Yeah. So parts of it didn't.
See, I didn't particularly feel like this. I felt like this wasn't a terrible jumping on point.
It's not the worst jumping on point I've ever tried.
Firstly,
no, it's honestly, I think it's about as good as you could manage, like bringing someone into like
without spending
a
the
series.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
I was going to say without.
There you go. After like nearly 20 years without an issue, I think it's about as good as you could do. It doesn't throw you too far into the deep end. Like the original series starts off with more like weird magic stuff than this, and like I think they like, God, if I remember correctly, on the first couple of pages they fight like a fire giant in the trenches in France, whilst they like send a fairy to send a mess, like they break an orb with like a fairy and it send a message or something. It's like there's this one I think is well like it tries not to throw too much at you.
It's fair. I don't think it was a matter of like the world itself that lost me.
No.
Just the lack of that like connection with the characters and the sort of the situation. Bit. Yeah, I think that's it. And I got the kind of World War I connection, but I don't know. It just I think you said it really just didn't hit. Just didn't take. That's a shame. Sorry, old Kurt.
I initially made the note to say that whilst the lettering is kind of scripty, it wasn't too annoying, and then made the additional note, although I do keep zooming in to check what words actually say, so I guess it was annoying. And if this was on paper, I don't know how I would come to terms with that.
It is one where it's not the worst offender, but any of that kind of calligraphy style writing is just a bit annoying. To give it like, sorry, have you got?
No.
I was just going to give some positive cues. Like I really like the outfit of the sort of, I guess, the British Air Force, which is somewhere between almost like Masonic and military. It has a sort of wizardy religious vibe, but also they're wearing their little like red berets.
Yeah.
I think some of that kind of design work is quite fun. I sort of like this like Power Rangers-esque element of they've all got different coloured dragons, so it means they've all got different coloured magic.
Yeah.
That's always a little bit endearing to me. But I guess this was the one that I got to the end and thought, I'm not really kind of interested to see exactly what happens next.
I felt like this was the only book we read this week, or at least for me, that was kind of a slog. Like, not even halfway through, I checked how far in I was and couldn't believe how long there was to go, because I felt like I'd already read a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is the heavy narration, and it's weird because I like the characters, I like the art, I think it's well written, and yet I kind of don't care. I thought this was a me thing. I thought this was more of a, it's just not my thing. I'm not overly a war guy. I'm not overly a fantasy guy. So I'm not overly a fantasy war kind of guy. You
Yeah.
two have got me questioning that if maybe this isn't just it's not a me thing and it's not
It's often not regarded as one of Busiek's best books. I've never heard anyone say it's bad. Like the original.
I don't think
it's one of these ones where it's like, it's not the first Busiek book you'd think to give to someone.
No, and I appreciate that Astro City isn't going to be for everyone, or Marvels isn't going to be for everyone.
Should
So
write more Autumnlands.
God,
any year now.
What was the original title of Autumnlands before it had to change?
I don't know. I only came to it late on.
It wasn't
Was it
was it like
Tooth
Tooth
and
and Claw? Or well, clearly we both think that. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Shall we do rankings?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ready to rank.
Cool. Well then, let's.
Oh God.
see I throw
Never
myself
speak
under the
up
bus
in
there.
this situation.
All right, I'm going to keep this real quick and snappy. I think we can all imagine that Arrowsmith is a number 4 for me. Again, not a book that I think is terribly bad, but doesn't do it for me. Third place is We Ride Titans. I think the slight kind of, in the modern viewpoint, the slight generacy of the kaiju thing is a minor drawback, but it is a trope that I enjoy nevertheless. Number 2 is Bylines in Blood. Again, the PI thing is really cool. And I really like the tropes of that and the design of it and her coat. And finally, Rain, because I just think it has the best art, and that's what's most important to me now. It's who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump in next because same.
Samesies.
So
Aw.
We never have the same.
no, damn. For Arrowsmith, I think is hard. I think it's well written, art's great, and I like the characters. Rocky and Hilda in particular. It's hard to not like Arrowsmith the most when his name's right there and he's the main character. But
I've got to be honest, Fletcher Arrowsmith kind of annoyed me more than it should do. It's basically just called Arrowmaker.
Yeah. Which I personally kind of love.
It's one of the. I think it's a Marmite name.
I don't know how he managed to get me to like the dragon that doesn't speak more than him, though. Like
Maybe it's because the dragon doesn't speak.
And Fletcher can't shut the fuck up. So
Exactly.
the contrast is all. Very much agree with Will about We Ride Titans. I'm into the kaiju giant robots fighting. And although there's a lot of it right now, I think this is one of the better beginnings we've had. I'm also quite into the family dynamic on top of that, and in adding a personal layer to it. I feel like there's been films and TV shows, and like Pacific Rim, my main complaint was that it's all this trauma and, oh my God, my brother died, and he solves all that by having a girlfriend. And I think it's nice here that I feel like that's not going to be because the brother's not dead and she's just in a relationship. And I feel like it's going to actually lead to some progress. Bylines in Blood, Aneke's art's good, majorly into the big collar thing. Again, it's a trope that we get a lot of, but it's a trope that I'm into. And yeah, sweet. And then Rain, because it's Joe Hill in it, and whether it's Joe Hill in name or Joe Hill in
Spirit.
Thank you. Yes, Spirit is. I'm still a horror guy at the end of it, and Zoe Thorogood drew it, and I really like Zoe Thorogood's art, and everyone should go read The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott, because that's rad too, and we don't say it enough on the podcast, but we should. Me and Will, first time in months, maybe years, who knows?
Maybe ever. I'll go through the archive.
That's a thing.
Who wants to disagree with us?
Yeah.
I'll disagree.
Yeah.
I'll disagree, but minorly. Is that a word?
I even know what the disagreement's going to be.
I
on
know you
It's
do.
that. It's that.
It's that obvious, isn't it? But let's say it for the people at home. So in fourth place is Ira Smith because of the reasons what I said before. I mean, basically, if this was about Hilda and Rocky, it would have been way further up there. But Fletcher Arrowsmith's there. There's just too much narration. It just, like Zach said, of all the books, that was the one that it felt like a bit of a slog to read. The others, I just breezed through and reread. I didn't reread Arrowsmith because it took me long enough the first time. And then in third place, the third one, We Ride with Titans. I'm not a big fan of the whole giant robot monster fighting, but I am a big fan of personal relationships and character work, and it had that. So I enjoyed it on that level. I'm interested to see where it goes. There looks to be some nice drama brewing. So, yeah, I have nothing more to say on that. But in second place, I want to put Rain in second place because it's a really well-drawn, well-written, super good book. But it doesn't scratch that itch that I have because Zach, as we know very much, is a horror reader. And I very much am a crime reader. So, therefore, I have to go Bylines in Blood at number one. Yeah, because I like detective noir very much. So, that and the coat, obviously. But Bylines in Blood, they're both really good. Bylines in Blood has good art and good writing and good lettering also. Rain probably has the more, what's the word? Not stunning art, but, maybe I'll use that word. It has more quality art in some respects. It's more standout and it's Zoe Thorogood, so of course it is. But Bylines in Blood does scratch that itch. Van Jensen doesn't get enough work also. He did Cryptocracy, which is one of my favourite ever books. So
I really thought you were going straight for Pinocchio, but
I mean, Pinocchio Vampire Hunter is also excellent. If anyone has read that, because
for very different reasons.
Yeah, I binged that so bad. So I basically Van Jensen will read anything. But yes, it's nice his work. But Bylines in Blood, for me, just scratches that. Angela really loves crime noir and PIs with drinking problems and their cute assistants that drug them. So yeah. Give them drugs. Yeah, there we go. Done. So, very similar, but I'm going to swap the top two around compared to Will and Zach.
Slight tweak.
Angela was so close to being right this week with the rest of us.
Normally, you and Angela are the ones who agree.
I know. I suddenly see now why agreeing with Will gives you this sense of being correct. Is it the beard? I don't know.
That's all you've got to do, Angela. Grow
a beard.
Agree with
Of the three of us here, who is least likely, of the four of us here, who is the least likely to be able to do that?
Probably still me.
Zach.
Yeah.
It's probably still Zach, to be fair. So,
okay.
Matt.
So, I'm going to disagree with everyone and put as my number 4, We Ride Titans. Or Ride with Titans.
It is just We Ride Titans. That's my fault.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to put as my number 4, We Ride Titans. It's perfectly fine. It does it's a solid start point. I like kind of most things about it. It's just at the same time not enough to kind of get me excited for it, which I either kind of needed it to be more cozy, more cozy relationships have a bit more excitement. And I didn't quite get enough of what I was after. I think it will be something that could be quite good. Number 3 was Arrowsmith. It's not an incredible first issue or anything, but it's nice to like. I'm kind of just happy, like not sort of like, oh, I'm so excited it's back, because like I say, it's not my favorite Busiek, but it's clearly something he very much likes writing, and I liked the first issue more. Like I quite enjoyed it as a first issue, and I definitely had more pre-existing buy-in than I did to well, obviously to anything else here. So like it's a case of being happy to see it back, seeing just like nice art, nice design work, like being in a world I know some of. It's kind of just nice to be back with it. Then it's much harder, but I'm going to put Rain as my number 2. Rain has a lot of things I like in it. It's like got a really sweet queer romance that's immediately ended, sadly, but it's still got a really sweet queer romance. It's got like immediately something horrible happens. It's gorgeous. So it was something that like I was thinking about when we were first talking about it. But like it actually managed to make me a little bit uncomfortable with the violence at the end, like, and purely like it didn't bother me anywhere else but with Yolanda, because with Yolanda there's a particular attention to detail that bothered me with it, almost with the fact that one of her eyes gets pierced and bleeds into itself.
Yeah, it's gruesome.
And that one bit, actually, that one tiny bit of attention to detail and thinking about it managed to actually make me more uncomfortable than any of the other things, than watching the people whose eyes get like shot out of their heads and stuff. And it's like, it's very well done, but and it's unusual for me to go, oh, that's a bit much. But like, it actually made me go for a second, oh, like in a way that I think that Animal Castle might have done. For you, like, none of the other violence did that to me. It was just specifically Yolanda.
It's just eye stuff.
And the kind of like the mangling of the body. Like, but I liked that book a lot. Absolutely gorgeous. And it's because it's so gorgeous almost that it did that to me. Because I don't think someone else would have, like, I don't think that the attention to detail would have been conveyed without such incredible art. Number 1 is Bylines in Blood. Again, I just really like an attention to, like I was saying with regards to Mobius, I like an attention to fashion. Even as the probably the least fashionable person, like the least well-dressed person on this call. Actually, no, I'm looking at Will's Nightcrawler shirt. But like recently, my aesthetic has basically been I'm in Pearl Jam. Like
recently.
I've rediscovered that my aesthetic.
I've rediscovered Pearl Jam, and
no, I rediscovered that my aesthetic is Eddie Vedder. But like, it's a thing I really like. It's why I love things like, it's why I love things like Sailor Moon, and stuff is like and JoJo's and stuff is the clear love for like haute fashion. So yeah, like I love like the collars and like the just like it's almost specifically just like the jackets and stuff, but they're cool. And the
bloody love a good jacket.
I do. And like I say, the thinking of giving people like accent colors that like are specific, that denote almost like if who are seen is kind of like who are seen is around is really cool. And not like uncommon, but it's nice to see. And the like, I like Angela enjoy a good detective story, and often quite a pulpy detective story. And like Satya gets beaten up at one point, which is essential for a detective. They need to get hit from behind at some point in a story, and she gets hit from behind. So, like, the only thing that was missing was she didn't pass out right away from one hit to the back of the head. I think that this is a story that I could see becoming a book I really love or a book I really dislike. Depending on how it goes over the remainder of its run, just in terms of like what its actual thoughts are on journalism, and in terms of like celebrating and defending the press, and what that actually means to this to this like book, this collective of people, like so yeah, like it was a very narrow one for me between those two, but that's my top four, and I think I line up closest with Angela,
which is shocking.
Is very rare.
I just don't know who we are as a podcast anymore.
What is this world?
You're closest to Angela. I'm the same as Will.
Yeah.
I mean, not in a lot of ways, but in one.
one very specific one.
Next thing you know, cats and dogs will be friends in the streets.
Yeah.
Human sacrifice. Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria.
Yeah. Yep.
The 3 cornerstones of a good time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
That wraps us up.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that. So, I guess we'll be back maybe even next week. We have been Angela, Matt, Will, and Zach, collectively bigger than capes, and we will continue to be. And remember that comics.
A deep intake of breath. And remember
that comics are
bigger than
capes.